Dear Nobody, let's talk about the arts. All right, last week we had a very interesting statement from Timothée Chalamet in his interview for Variety with Matthew McConaughey, and I've watched the whole entire interview. And let me just say, for an hour long interview or podcast like this, usually I would get so much more information than I've ever had about whatever they were talking about. However, in this case, for some reason, it was quite hard for me to grab Timothy's intentions and ideas across the board. I was listening to it intently and even rewind some parts so I can really get a sense of what he's saying. Matthew isn't the problem here. He answered questions brilliantly and also very wisely. But on the other hand, though, Timmy was going all around the places. And actually, it also kind of tells me how his kind of is as a person. This incident went viral and it has awoken a lot of musicians on earth. If you don't know what's happening, let me tell you. Basically, Timothy was discussing the importance of keeping the movie theaters alive. He made a comparison to the other art forms, specifically ballet and opera, saying that he didn't want to work in ballet or opera, which he has described as things where artists are just trying to, quote, keep this thing alive, even though, quote, again, no one cares about this anymore, unquote. He then joked that he probably just lost 14 cents in viewership. And since then, a lot of opera houses, ballet companies, classical musicians, including myself, have huge opinions and fight back about this statement. I want to let you know that this episode is going to be a little different than what I usually do. Like, I don't usually cover the news, but for this specific one, I make an exception. It was honestly amazing to see every musician rise up and defend opera and ballet. It makes me feel so seen because, as a classical musician, I am in a way also a part of this quote unquote ancient art forms that stood through times, decades, eras. It makes my heart warm to know people all over the world are still respecting and do what they love just to share the art with each other. Although this statement has made a lot of people boiling, in some ways, it also brought a good side of me that it made me realize how important my line of work is, and the more reasons for me to stay and work really hard for music. It is not only cultural, but it's also beautiful and very meaningful. And the beauty part of it all is not only just for me, but it's also for others and to the whole world. So it is bigger than everything, really. I wouldn't say I didn't have any sorts of bias or outrage after hearing that statement. Of course, I had my initial reaction like most of the musicians out there. But after marinating the statement for quite some time now, and also after listening to the whole interview, there are quite a few perspectives that we can rise through this statement. Number one is, being the very obvious that Timmy was disrespecting two of the oldest form of arts in history that stood through time, and that he only cares about the fame and money. Because to be honest, the movie genre is like a mass produce of something, right? You can make tons of money only with one movie because it can be in a way reused that you don't need to think about it too much because it's already like a finished product that you can just share around. Like after you're done, the movie is out, you can just share it out. Like ask your friends to watch it with you, whatever. It will still be around, right? Like in modern days, like a YouTube video or Reels. Once done, you're done with the video. You can share them however you'd like. People can watch it over and over again if they like, but you don't need to work for it again if they want to rewatch the same thing. Meanwhile, our line of work, like classical musicians, opera, ballet, dancers, theater, we have to train and get ourselves ready before the performances, whenever it is. It's not like a one time job and done. We have to work really hard to make one performance. And like in the theaters, sometimes we have multiple days where we're performing the same thing. Each night will never be the same because you're doing the best you can do every single day. And every single day, the best you can do, it differs all the time. That's the magic of live shows. What you experience is not the same as others. Example, you're coming to the opening night. It will be so different than the last night of that production or concert. And that's what's unique about doing live shows. Every night is always different. If you make one mistake in one night, it doesn't really define who you are as an artist because how we feel every day is always going to be different. It's not going to be the same. Very different with movies. Movies, you can shoot how many takes you can and then pick the best one, put it in the edits, and you're done. You don't need to act like that again. Unless if you want to do like a remake of that movie, yeah, then probably yeah. But it is highly unlikely for movies to be refilmed again. Highly unlikely. Number two is on the marketing or financial side of these art forms. It is quite hard to admit it. Even me, as a classical pianist, I at first didn't want to admit it too. But what Timmy said about dying art form, if we look at the financial side of these performances, you can actually be shocked about it. It is not as good as it was before. And you might ask, Sally, how do you know? Well, I've heard from people inside and outside of the opera, ballet, music halls. They're all in some ways struggling to sell tickets. Even some major orchestras, they are forced to not continue because apparently they just don't have enough financial support. I agree that sometimes the prices can be too high, but with the workload of people that are working, it's only normal to pay that much for a ticket because we have to think about the backstage crew, the artistic crew, production team, costume team, the people who curate the whole season. Everyone is involved. And the tickets are quite expensive because of the high production. So, in some ways, Timmy was partially correct that they are kind of dying in a way financially. Okay, highlighting the financially. I totally disagree with the statement afterwards, though, where he said that people don't care about it because people do. It's just sometimes it's too pricey that not a lot of people are privileged enough to experience them once a week or once a month or even once every 6 months or once a year. Not a lot of cities or countries have the ability to make an opera theater or other concert halls because they are very costly. I'm considered privileged in this realm because I'm also working in this kind of art forms where it's from a long time ago and I'm very grateful of it. I'm also in New York. All of my life I've been in this classical music realm and I know how hard each person have contributed to this music world. It's not easy. Also, given that I'm also still a student, that changes a lot in terms of pricings because we have a great student programs here that we can join and to have more accessible ticket pricings along with lottery usually for broadways and other things. This accessible pricing has helped a lot for me and for my friends. And I think that's the only reason why I'm able to go to the Met Opera, ballet, and other concert halls very frequently. I'm very grateful for that. Sometimes I also do get comp tickets from my school friends who are performing and others. There's a bunch of different concert halls here that I can just go as my free will. It's not like someone is forcing me to watch these. No, it's quite the opposite. It's because I want to know the stories, how they interpret, how they choreograph. There's just a lot of things in one production. It is quite a niche thing that we are doing. Like being a classical pianist is kind of very niche. I mean, I can be a pianist, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a classical pianist, right? A pianist, you can play anything you want, but I chose to be a classical pianist. And all of these jobs that we are talking right now, everyone have their own niche. Also, each opera houses, they're always different in terms of costume and the set. Sometimes they will be somewhat similar, but most of the time they will be different from each other. And I'm so glad that I live in a city where it's so lively, full of live music and theater, musicals, operas, ballet, classical music, orchestra, solo performances. There's everything here in New York, and it's amazing to see all the talents bloom and shine their way. Number three, it has revived my passion for classical music. Because of this statement, seeing a lot of people rise up for this matter and fight for our art forms, it is such an immense feeling. It's so powerful in a way that it has totally made me feel so fired up and so motivated to work on more things and to share my music with people. Last time I saw a quote from Andrea Bocelli, and he said something like, if people don't really like something, it's most probably because they're not as exposed to it as other people who love it. This quote lit the bulb inside me, and I was like thinking, that is actually true. For example, for myself, I don't necessarily like contemporary pieces where it has a lot of dissonance and I don't know, I just cannot really resonate with it compared to if I'm playing something from the classical, baroque, or romantic era. But as you might know, I'm having my graduation recital very soon in May, May 9th to be exact. And I have to kind of learn a contemporary piece for one of the requirements that I have to play. So I just learned this new piece, a new left hand piece, contemporary, and it's written by a woman. And at first I was like, let's just finish this because I kind of have to. I wasn't really interested in it. It was just something that I need to do, and I just have to do it because it's my requirement. Like working on something that you don't want to do, but you just have to do it. It's like that. Boring, right? No excitement there, whatever. Like that kind of mentality. But then, after a while working on this piece, it kind of opens my mind in a way that is, I'm actually accepting this piece into my life. I'm actually having fun learning it, and I like it. This is something unexpected because when it comes to very abstract and dissonance contemporary pieces, I couldn't really wrap my head around it. Like, I just couldn't. I cannot connect with it. I guess it is based kind of like on the piece, like it's case by case situation, but it definitely unlocked something within me to be more open minded and find it exciting and pleasurable in some ways. Coming back to the Andrea Bocelli quote, that also opens my mind into thinking that probably Timmy hasn't really exposed himself in terms of ballet, opera, or other art forms. But for ballet, though, I find it kind of weird because his mother, his sister, and I believe his grandma, they were ballet dancers. And I just don't understand why he would say that for them. But yeah, that quote from Bocelli really opens my mind. And seeing Timmy, probably he's not as experienced as us. And I hope he can expose himself more onto these art forms that he blatantly reject and reflect. Like, who knows, he might change his mind in the future. No one knows. So, this whole ordeal of Timmy degrading our art forms, he in some ways put a fire in me again that reminds me of the reason why I still do what I do. It's not about the money, but it's about the experience, the emotions, the language that we can talk without putting words in. We are able to resonate and connect with each other from the world just with music. Isn't that awesome? I find it really interesting how we have bunch of words in the dictionary, but it's somewhat not enough compared to with music. I cannot explain the feeling right now, but when you play music, you can say your feelings when words cannot. And this is a very powerful thing. Music is the only language that connects us all without even saying a word. And that, my friend, I think that's crazy. That's bonkers. What I truly love about our art forms is that we are able to make people inspired without our intentions to do so. I've heard from other people that they got inspired by my performances. Even if I thought my performance wasn't good enough, someone thought of it differently. And it might be their lighting bulb moment because you have inspired them to play that piece or to go through difficult times, like an injury that I'm having. Of course, I have no intentions of making people inspired. Like, I'm not like, you have to be inspired after my performances. No, I'm not doing that. All I want to do is just to share my music. And if it clicked, hopefully they are able to be transported to the world that I made for them when I'm playing those pieces. I want it to be an experience for them. Like an immersive experience to feel what I feel, to see what I see, to hear what I hear when playing those beautiful melodies, those beautiful notes, and to share the beauty of the pieces that has been from ages ago and people still have respect for it. I'm not doing this for money, and a lot of us are not doing it for money either. I mean, yes, you can become like Yu Wang and become a successful performer that can make a lot of money, but sometimes you just want to do it because you have passion for it. You have heart for your art forms, and that's enough. I believe the most sincere thing that you can do for yourself is not to care about what the world wants, but what you want and what you enjoy to do. And most importantly, share that to the world, even if you get little money out of it. The joy of doing art is bigger than the whole sky. And obviously, if you only think about the money, well, I guess you can change your lane and go to finance or something like that, creates more money. But for art, we just have so much love for it. And that's why we still do our best and share it to the world. Not to keep it alive, but to share the experience with each other. Not everyone has the talent like us to do these jobs. And that is what's special. Thank you for listening until this point. New episodes coming on Thursdays, and I will talk to you next week. I hope this episode brings a light in you and a new perspective from this whole Timmy thing. Let's put our emotions into our arts instead of getting worked on what he said. It's our opportunity to use it as a fuel into our arts. We absolutely care about the arts, all forms of arts. And I guess that's it. Hope you have a great day or night depending on where you are.